I don't know, we can't hear him.
Hey, can you guys hear me? Fran? James? Can you hear me? You can't see or hear me, okay. Shoot. This technology might not work very well. Hang with us here, guys. We're trying to get this thing to work. They're going to try to come back on, hopefully here shortly. I don't know why they can't hear me. Hopefully you guys can hear me. If you're viewing it, you can comment on it. That would be great. Oh, can you guys hear me?
Right.
You can hear me?
Yes, we can.
We did it.
Yeah.
Yes. All right. We'll get this thing figured out. All right. Well, I want to jump into this, guys. So I know we had some people that were going to tune in at 10:30 to check it out. Obviously, we got a little late start thanks to our technological differences. We probably should have tested it before 10:30. Huh? That probably would have been a good idea. Anyway, I wanted to bring you guys on live and just kind of, I put a post out yesterday. Thanks, Zach. There we go. I can get comments. This is great. Anyway, I put a post out yesterday to kind of find out from people what kind of topics would they want to learn about in real estate specifically. And one of them that came up was people were wondering about property management. Specifically, it was someone who's looking to get a portfolio started, hasn't probably purchased their first rental property yet. They're kind of weighing out, pros and cons to that. And so I wanted to bring you guys on. I guess if you can start, maybe just tell us who you are, what company you're with, and a little background on how you got into property management, and we'll kind of start there.
Yeah. So I guess I started out a long time ago. When I was 21, I bought a duplex. I knew long term, I wanted to get into real estate and ideally enjoy passive income at some point in my life.
Okay.
And so I bought my first duplex, and it just kind of snowballed from there. So we picked up a number of units since then. We've bought and sold and flipped and done all the things. But one critical element that we were missing, my wife and I, when we originally started, was we didn't have the tools associated with an actual property management company.
Okay.
I had infinity Excel sheets, and it was tax time was a nightmare. So we started kind of looking at alternative options, and as our portfolio grew, it just kind of snowballed into what eventually became VantagePoint Property Management and my partner James.
Yeah.
Okay.
And obviously, I'm James Albricht. So I started actually in college. All through college, I worked in Milwaukee for property management companies, a couple of different various ones. So I've always known that I was going to eventually get into real estate. So after college was done, I moved up to the Green Bay area, bought my first flip, and kind of got started going from there. So and then a couple of years later, I met Fran, and we kind of had the same issue with the lack of consistency with property management, and so we started our own.
Sweet. Very cool. Very cool. Well, obviously, I'm a big fan of you guys. You do my property management, and it's been quite a drastic change from what I was experiencing in the past with self-managing and a previous property manager. But if you can, I guess maybe talk about that briefly, to kind of address people out there who are self-managing or are thinking about self-managing, for whatever reason, whether it's they want to maintain control or they want to save some cash or whatever the case might be. Maybe just if you can talk about why someone should consider property management versus what's the pros and cons to self-managing versus property management.
Yeah. I mean, I think truly what it boils down to is as simple as if you're going to self-manage, you don't have passive income. And that works for some people, if you're familiar and comfortable with a lot of the laws and the ugly side of property management where you're going to court and dealing with evictions and dealing with really tough tenant issues. But if you're looking to scale and you're looking to, stay a little more hands-off, we have a lot of clients who simply get a check in the mail or see their account balance increase every month when they directly deposit it, and that's about as involved as they get. So it kind of depends on what your personal goals are. But from a cost perspective, I'm sure many property management companies fall into the same category as us, but our goal is to actually increase your net even after paying us rather than not.
Okay.
As you do yourself, we tend to get significant increases in rent And then that combined with our vendor discounts that we, locally sourced in the area, usually as a result of savings, if you're able to do more than you typically would.
Our goal is to pay for ourselves.
Yep. And then,
why would anyone want to self-manage versus hire a property manager? Like, what's the pros to doing self-management?
I think some people are they want to be more involved. They want to, see every day what their investment is doing themselves. Oftentimes we see self-managers start off with, they own a house and they buy another house, and then a family member moves into the original house, and it just kind of spirals from there. Where they continue. I self-manage for years, but then we learned the value of property management. And we own property outside of this area that we hire management companies in that area to manage for us, because boots on the ground in the area that are experts in the market, for us, we know the value of that. Right?
Yeah, totally. Very cool. Very cool. So my experience in the past, we started out with our first duplex self-managing, and it was pretty easy. We inherited tenants, so we didn't really have to deal with new leases necessarily, or trying to go out and market to find new tenants or deal with any of that stuff. It was pretty easy. And then we found like our goal was pretty big, and it still is. And I think for us, when we started to pick up a few more, we're going, do we really want to deal with leases and move outs and fixing this little thing and that little thing? And I remember I got a call from one of those tenants we inherited to come over and fix a screen in the window that he broke. And I was like, floored. I'm like, what do you mean? You want me to come fix your screen? You broke it, fix it. But that's not the way a lot of tenants think. And so that was kind of an eye opener for me to go, holy cow, this is going to drive me batshit crazy if I have to keep doing this stuff. All right, talk about, because what we did, I'm always a cost guy, as you guys know. I'm always looking at how can I increase my bottom line or lower my costs. Maybe talk about the difference between like professional property managers versus, Uncle Jim, who's handy and he'll take care of it for you. What are the benefits to working with a professional property manager versus the alternative?
Yeah. I mean, obviously we're a little biased, but, I'd say they are significant in terms of working with a professional management company rather than just some random person who does it a little bit here and there. First of all, our leases are airtight. I think they're 17 pages long. They offer the owners a lot of protection that the standard typical Wisconsin lease or any other lease that you find online wouldn't. We have a legal team involved, whatever it's necessary. Beyond that, we have the right tools. So we do nationwide credit checks, nationwide eviction checks, nationwide criminal background checks, whereas a lot of the websites that you generally find if you're just searching background check only do local. So you're going to get higher quality tenants. Our marketing is, in my opinion, very, very good in terms of, we're able to offer a lot of showings, and with a larger pool, typically we get higher quality tenants. And beyond that, it's probably very important for most investors, we're able to push those rents up as high as possible. So most of the time when we take over someone who's self-managed or managed by someone who's a little, just kind of dipping their toes in the industry, we're able to increase the rents pretty significantly. And more importantly, we get tenants that pay it pretty regularly. And so,
helpful.
If you're looking at percentage points, 2 or 3 different, we're going to provide far more value. I think most property management companies that are well renowned in this industry, than saving 2% and having Uncle Joe do it.
And Corey, I would add, so the professional side of it is very important, but as you mentioned, the cost side of it too. So Fran and I, like he said, we're investors as well. So we absolutely look at the cost side too. So putting LED lighting in, for example, or anything we can do as far as cost controls on properties. We not only look at our properties as investments. I mean, if we're managing anyone else's, we're doing the same exact thing, looking for opportunities wherever they rise.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, from personal experience, I literally put my life on the line to save a door.
I actually did yesterday too. Yeah.
I don't know, Fran, if this is an appropriate platform for that, but if you want to share, because I still don't know what happened, but if you want to share what happened at our apartment, I would love to hear it, and maybe our Facebook crowd would love to hear this. So if you're cool sharing it, I'm open because I want to know what happened.
So I'll be a little vague because, to be honest, it's an ongoing investigation. I don't know exactly what I can share. Long story short, you purchased a very large complex, so congratulations. And then, fortunately, gave us the opportunity to manage it for you.
Yep.
Unfortunately, it came with some baggage, and one of those pieces of baggage was a tenant who they're concerned that he was violating his parole. So we got involved with the police, and these are all phone calls you didn't have to get involved in because you hired us.
Yes.
And so, you know, I was working with the police department and the parole officer, doing a little detective work myself. Did not become a sheriff, unfortunately. But the long and the short of it is, at one point, they had asked me to meet the police there. The probation officer asked me to meet the police there.
Okay.
But didn't feel safe being there themselves. So I would open the door. And the reason we did that instead of just having them force entry was obviously to hopefully prevent some cost on your end.
Right.
For better or for worse, the tenant was very security conscious based on what he had in the apartment. And so we ended up having to drill the locks out. And certainly, if anyone was in the apartment while we were doing so, they were aware that we were outside.
Oh,
So we got the door open, and you know, obviously, the rest is still an ongoing saga. But certainly, it was a bit of an adventure.
So we have a vacancy, is what you're saying?
Not quite yet.
Oh, okay.
Yep. Currently, it's a crime scene that will be released to us at some point in the near future.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Now, I want to share. So this is the benefit of, I think, property management. Obviously, I'm a huge fan. So this is what I experienced with this police debacle that we have at our apartment. I got a phone call from the Round County Sheriff asking if we would cooperate. I said, hey, you got to call my property manager, Fran. I don't know anything about this. That was the last I heard of it, other than when just from asking you guys really what was going on. And I'm telling you, I think anybody out there who's watching this, if you truly want to scale your business, if you're into it for like, I think 1 or 2, maybe 3 single families, and you're just going to use those, or house hack is another thing where you're living on one side of a duplex and you got somebody on the other side, it's pretty easy to manage some of that stuff. And, you know, your risk is a little bit less, but I feel like if you really want to grow a sizable business, and I think, Fran, you mentioned the word passive income earlier, having that freedom income where, you know, you can leave, go on vacation or whatever, not have to worry about something happening in your properties, you have to use property management. I think there comes a point, kind of like probably what you guys experience, where maybe if you get so many units, maybe you develop your own property management company, but obviously you've got to get past some of those roadblocks that I see a lot of investors, they kind of hit that slump of like, I've got, you know, 20 units, and I can't grow, I can't go acquire anymore because I'm over here putting a new tenant in and I got to clean this one out and I got to do that. Have you guys seen any of that in your experience with people who've maybe been in the game, they've been self-managing and done pretty well, but now they're kind of stuck at a plateau, and by using you guys or property management, they've been able to bust through that?
Yeah, definitely. So we had some very similar. In fact, I experienced it myself, where you get to a point in time where without the correct tools, you're investing so much time in individual units, you don't have time to grow. And for us, it's always been about growth and scaling. So we've had a couple of folks that, you know, one gentleman in particular, he kind of dipped his toe in the water. He started off with us. He's self-managing. He brought on, I think, 4 units about maybe a year and 3 months ago. And since then, you know, he's seen the cash pile up, and he's closing on another 6 units within the next 90 days. And he's since then closed on 4 additional units. So he's gone from 0 to hero in less than a year and a half. And his positive cash flow right now is pretty amazing, given what we started with.
Yeah.
And it's simply because, you know, there's, from his end, all he does is sign the closing paperwork, and that's that.
Yeah.
So it's easy money for him.
Yeah, for sure. my dog might start barking here shortly. So this is the beauty of Facebook Live. Anyway, I'm going to step away and let him go outside. But while I'm doing that, talk to the people about how you guys, because I'm curious, you know, 2 of our units so far, I've been super impressed with that apartment. Like the rents you guys are getting for these apartments is like beyond what I was even projecting when I was analyzing the property. Can you talk about how you guys try to determine rents and get those rent rates as high as possible and what you do to capture that?
Sure. Obviously, a critical component of achieving top market rents is to have a really large base of people. So from a marketing perspective, I'd say we're, if not the best company in the area, we're certainly near the top. We advertise, obviously, publicly posts on Facebook. We advertise on all of our partner websites. Beyond that, we have enough units and enough traction with specific openings that we have now that we're able to utilize and leverage those current applicants in future units, which is obviously really beneficial for our current clients because they often will experience very limited vacancy because we already have folks in the hopper that are ready to go and already qualified.
And what I would add is what we've noticed in the past 6 months or so is when you have a good rapport with your tenants specifically, you'll find that the tenant will reach out to you and say, hey, my sister's looking for a 2-bedroom, or my dad's wanting to move to Green Bay, or whatever the case may be. So I would say our network is pretty strong from the client and the tenant side as far as helping us build those relationships and fill the vacancies relatively quickly.
Yep, absolutely true. A number of times we've moved one tenant from one of our units because a need change. Got married, had a kid, or whatever the case may be. So we'll move a tenant from an existing unit to a larger or different unit. And it's great because we already have an established history with them. We know that they're good tenants, and it saves everyone a bunch of time and money.
Yeah. Awesome. Anybody out there, if you're watching this, if you have any questions or anything, go ahead and comment on here for these guys. I think I can see all of them over here, and I can read them off while we're doing this. But any other advice you'd give people who are maybe looking to get started in real estate? I mean, because you guys just as investors, what are some things they need to consider? They need to start lining up if they're looking more at a buy and hold type of a strategy.
My advice is as early as you can. My personality, I guess, would be I'm very, very conservative by nature. And so for a number of years, it was very conservative, safe, cash investments. And truly, we've seen an explosion in our personal portfolio as of late because we've finally, on paper, we understood the strength of leveraging, but finding creative ways to finance deals and leveraging have really gotten up to that next level, and we've seen a really significant growth in our portfolios. Our clients that are seeing similar growth are doing the same thing unless they happen to be sitting on a ton of cash themselves.
Awesome. James, what about you? You're kind of the quiet guy over there.
Yeah, so I don't know. I would say just make sure, from my perspective, just make sure you know the laws. It's really easy to get burnt in this game, and you have to know what you're doing as far as legalities go. So, it would be know the rules, know how to operate, know how to communicate with people from obviously different walks of life and everything. So, just make sure you're following the rules, and then a big part of it too is understand the tax implications too. It's just really important to know the inflow and outflow of whatever business you're running. So just stay very close to it.
Right. And I mean, you raise a great point. I mean, housing is a very regulated industry, and a lot of self-managers out there are just kind of winging it. You have to be sure that you're confident in the fair housing laws and you're using the right forms and the right disclosures and all that other stuff. Otherwise, certainly can come back and burn you.
Yeah, we've all heard the story of my aunt owns a duplex and she just lets them kind of do whatever and walks in whatever, and it's terrifying because that could really bite someday.
Yeah, you're just a sitting duck out there if you don't know the rules, right?
Right.
Like a professional tenant to sue you or something, right?
Absolutely, and they exist.
Yeah, absolutely. Awesome, guys. Well, I don't know if I don't see any other questions here on the forum or anything else like that, but appreciate you guys hanging with me on this first attempt with this new platform, this technology, and it was awesome. I will go ahead and I'll post your guys' information. If you want to go into the comments on this and post your information in here so people can contact you guys directly. If you want to talk more about your services or just have questions about, property management or whatever the case is, go ahead and post in there. And anything you got for me? Any questions? Anything else? Otherwise, I'm going to end this thing.
I think that's it. Thanks for having us, Corey. Look forward to your new page. We'll probably learn a lot on it too. So
I hope so. I'm going to
right.
hopefully learn a lot on it too. This is selfishly more for me than anybody else, but
That's fair.
yeah. All right. Awesome. Thanks, guys.
All right. Thanks,
bye.
Corey.
Yep.